welcome back to the ABBY IMANI REVEALS show. This is where we speak, we are real so that we can live. And we'll say a short word of prayer before we proceed. Father, we thank you. We are here again to talk about adolescents. We know the challenges that they go through and how it affects them, especially mentally. As we speak with Sheila and Joseph and anyone else who's joining, we ask that you speak through each and every one of us and guide us so that we can help these young ones as they grow into maturity. We pray that you let every link work well, every connection, we ask that you let it work well so that we'll have a smooth time of conversation. We pray for those who are yet to join that you remind them. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay,
Amen.
so yes, this is the Abby Iman Reviews show, and I want to remind us once again, if you haven't subscribed yet, just go to your browser, type in Abby ABBY Imani IMANI Reveals Show. Most of us here on the panel have been through that stage. I I'm not sure I remember vividly what I experienced, but I know that is one of the times of discovery, and it can be quite frustrating if you don't get the right guidance, especially mentally. So today, that's the conversation we are having: how to ensure that the adolescents transition from childhood to adulthood in a way that will let them mature into, how do I say it, healthy adults. Yeah, mentally. So today, our guests are Sheila, who's a clinical psychologist, and Joseph as well, who is also a clinical psychologist. And they are going to lead us in this conversation. Call your friends, call your loved ones to join us as we have a chat. So, welcome, Linda. Hear and see me well.
I
Sure.
can see you are still beautiful.
Thank
And
you,
see, Sheila,
Joseph.
you are doing as well, smart as usual.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So, these are my friends from the Tabasamu Cafe. Sorry, tell me the meaning of Tabasamu again. Hello?
Yeah, Tabasam means is a simple Swahili name that means to smile.
To
You
smile.
put a bright face to someone. So
Mm,
without you put a bright face to adolescent
mm,
who may be suffering many challenges like teenage pregnancy, mental health issues,
mm,
lack of job, and dropping from the school.
mm,
Yeah, that's why we found it. It can suit so that we are not we avoid the stigma. If we put like adolescent mental health or a friendly clinic for adolescents, that's how we came up with a Tabasam Cafe. Thank
mm,
you.
mm. Great. Thank you so much for the summary. So there I'll have Sheila introduce herself, and then Joseph will follow. Then we'll start with the conversation. So Sheila, you have the floor.
Yeah, so thank you, Abby, and thank you for having us on this show. So, my name is Sheila Mavua. I'm a clinical psychologist, currently living and working in Nairobi. And I'm glad to be here to just talk about issues adolescence and what it means to be an adolescent, especially in this landscape of mental well-being. So, thank you, Abby. Back to you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, thank you. I am Joseph Kadono. I am a clinical psychologist. I work in Kenya. Mostly I work with adolescents, and also I work in a methadone clinic within Nairobi County, where we support adolescents and other people who are suffering from drug use, especially on opioid and other hard drugs.
Mm,
So I am happy to have this meeting to share what affect adolescents. As we know, there is like epidemic globally with life. They are like giving up. So
mm.
thank you for having this opportunity to share what we do with the Tabasam Cafe. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you too for all the work you're doing. So yes, we'll go straight into it. Who is an adolescent? What what characterizes that stage of adolescence? Um, Sheila, do you want to start with us?
Yeah, so thank you, Abby. When we talk about adolescence, most of the time it is a common term that people use, but when you look at it in terms of stages of development, we say an adolescent is someone who's between childhood and adulthood. But then when we look at adolescent as a process of development, then we are saying it's a process through which a child transitions from being a child into becoming an adult. So it's just a stage that kind of bridges childhood and adolescence. So that is an adolescent. It's a transitional period of development that a lot of us have gone through. So one morning you wake up, you're a baby, and as time goes by, you start developing, and as you're developing, people can see they can see growth in terms of how you look, how you appear, how you think, how you relate with people, until now you get to a level where people can relate with you and say this is now an adult.
Mm.
Yeah. So back
Okay,
to you, Abby.
thank you. Joseph, can you give us specific examples of the changes that happen physically, psychologically, socially? What are some of the direct examples that you can give us so that if I see these things, I know that, okay, this is someone who is transitioning?
Yeah, thank you. That's a nice question. And it's good to help adolescents or a mother or a parent or a guardian who are having adolescents in their home or even the teachers, because sometimes they really fight a lot, and those even themselves having a dispute or a conflicting, they don't know themselves. So yes, there are those physical process that it's like a process now that goes on with the adolescent. So in that there is a change of the breast for the girls, and then there's also that they start attending their menses, so monthly. That's meaning that they are able now to produce. And then for the boys, they have changes with their voices, and then also they may have the reproductive organ also growing, that they're able to have what you call bedwetting, and that's the high time now the guardian have to talk, because now they are also able to they can also produce. And then when it comes to their mentally, they're also challenged with these changes. Like now for the girls, they are told now you have a big breast. Others they are told maybe for you you don't have a big breast, because some may also start very late, or others start very quite early. And then the voice, from the level that even you can hear that mother say that I'm confused if it is my my husband or it's my boy who is talking, because their voices are really as wide enough, and they can now speak in a bass. And you know, if now you have a late adolescent, especially for the boys, people will tell you are a girl because you can't talk in that man voice. So they face social challenges because they can't fit the group. Like the other day, I was in a Sunday, and the youth saying that you have to come so that we can give you the voice. And some of us we are still singing like the girls. No, they were told you have to train you how you can produce that tenor and the bass. And then in terms of their growth, you can see these people they're in the stage where they are developing characters. They want even to have that's the freedom. They want to control their space. And then the guardian or the parent, they are now like, you people, you are not obeying the rules. If Sheila, maybe she can even tell you what normally we do most of the time. The teachers here in Kenya, they don't even do the caning. It's like, it's not allowed. So they are mostly sent in the therapy for have like 3 sessions for counseling. And you can see the things we do for counseling or even talking in the therapy is a thing that you can go and teach them the changes. So maybe they assume the biology they learned from the school maybe is not that enough. So for the teachers to understand. So I believe it's a challenging topic to understand. But in terms of the social, also they want to be like leaders also, even the way they wear. There are some who want maybe may develop now the acne or the pimples in their faces, and this can disturb them because they want to be treated, to have a smooth face,
Yeah.
because now they are almost also being produced, and some may be a trouble to them. Yeah, and also if we come to the menstruation period, they may be facing challenges because they don't know how to handle it. So this can bring a lot of mental challenges and also can bring the social because when they want to share with others, maybe they don't know. Others like, oh, yours has come too late. And even when they want to talk to their mothers, they're also like fearing, what can I tell my mother? What can I tell my father? Or even my brother? Yeah, those I think the changes I can highlight.
Mm. Sheila, do you want to add on to it?
Yeah, so thank you, Abby. Just to add on to what Joseph has said, so the changes that happen, as he correctly said, you'll find that for the girls, physically there'll be changes, and therefore a girl will note. And then for the boys, of course, other than the deepening of the voice, you find that some of them grow taller, and growing taller is both for the girls and the boys.
Mm.
And then sometimes we find for the boys, their shoulders will broaden a bit. And then, of course, as Joseph said, you find that now that you're becoming, you are transitioning from being a child to an adult. Then biologically, there'll be changes that the boys will experience. So for the boys, as he said, the bedwetting or what we call the sperma cake, and then for the girls, the menac or the menstruation will start. But then all these things depend because there are also other social and environmental factors that
Mm.
will either make the changes happen consistently, and
Okay.
to some they'll be delayed based on the other things that the young boy or the young girl is going through. So to others the changes are, they are gradual, to others they are fast, and therefore not all adolescents transition at the same rate. So that is one thing that as adolescents or as parents we also need to appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you. So can you continue and tell us some of the ways that the transition is affected by the environment, by family, friends, social expectations? I think Joseph touched a bit on that, but if you can talk some more by faith, traditions, all these areas, how do they affect that transition period between childhood and adulthood for the adolescent?
Yeah, so thank you, Abby, for that particular question. So as we said, for adolescent is a period where there is transition, and therefore this child is growing physically, they are growing socially, they are growing psychologically, emotionally, things are changing. And as we said, there are many factors that affect on how fast or how smooth the transition becomes or how difficult it becomes. So you find for the adolescents, we always have got stages through which they go through. So stage one, we talk of early adolescent, where you're looking at an adolescent who is between the ages of 10 and 13. And then stage two, you're looking at adolescents who are between the ages of 14 and 16. And then stage three, you're looking at adolescents who are between the ages of 17, 18, going to 19. And therefore, the changes will differ based on what stage they are in. So, if we start with the first one, how does the environment affect? So, depending on where you are raised, so if you are in a traditional setting or probably an urban or rural setting, you find that in most of our cultures, if I look at it from an African perspective, so when you get to an age where people feel that now you are stopping to become a child and you're moving towards adulthood, then you find in some cultures there were specific rituals or rites that these particular young people would go through. So for the girls, you'll find there are specific rituals that they will be taken through to mark that transitioning from a child into early adulthood. For the boys, you'll find sometimes they will do circumcision, other times they'll have specific activities that when these children are taken through, then it marks that particular period. And then, so when you look at environment and culture, there are some intersections in between. But then, when you also look at environment, you'll find that for the children who grow up in urban spaces, vis-a-vis for the children who grow up in rural spaces, you'll find even the type of food, the type of friends they interact with, the type of social life they are accustomed to has got a way that it influences how they start thinking, how they start behaving, and
Mm.
all that. Then you have the aspect of, your family, you have got the aspect of your friends. So when you are transitioning the expectations that people expect from you, so you hear people say you're now becoming an adult, so you have to stop behaving like a baby, you have to stop behaving like a child, you have to stop this particular behavior. So you find there's too much pressure sometimes on the adolescent who has told you about it, or you wake up as a girl and you find you're having, blood, and no one has told you about that blood, and probably you don't even have access to sanitary towels, and if you have access to sanitary towels, probably you don't know how to use them, or probably you are not used to wearing panties, and then all of a sudden, you
Mm.
have to learn how to do that. So you find sometimes, because some of this information is not readily available,
Mm.
it affects, the transitioning of this particular child to adulthood. But then you see, for the adults, because some of these things, like when you look at it biologically, a girl who is starting to just grow breasts and having her hips expand,
Mm.
in our African tradition, probably your mother would tell you you need to stop playing with boys,
Mm.
but they'll not tell you why to
Yeah.
stop playing with boys, because the assumption is that you should know.
Mm.
And why are they telling you? Because they've seen your breasts are growing, or because they've seen your hips are
Mm.
expanding. So this child is left confused.
Mm.
Why am I being told not to play with boys and stuff like
Exactly.
that? So when the boy now breaks the voice, and the father says, for example, it is only I'm the only man of the house, so you cannot talk when I'm talking, because it's like you're competing. So there can only be one man in the house. So the boy will not understand probably why the father is saying like that. So you find the process, it can be a bit challenging.
Mm.
Then when you look at religion also, so you are becoming a young girl, a young boy who is transitioning into adulthood, the expectations are there. But then if you don't have a proper religious grounding, you find sometimes it is hard for
Mm.
these children to understand what religion expects of them. So you find there's a lot of confusion, and that is why you find now, when you look at the social issues, you look at the religious issues, you look at even issues of identity. So I'm growing up. So who exactly am I?
Mm.
What do I? This is a child who is trying to be independent. So you're basically a semi-adult who is expected to take care of yourselves, make decisions, and propel yourself forward. But then when you don't have a mentor to take you through that and tell you this is okay, this is normal,
Mm.
this is a phase you're going through. So sometimes it becomes too overwhelming.
Mm.
So you find these adolescents also are trying to find out who are they. So that issue of independence, the issue of I can make decisions on my own,
Mm.
the issue of I don't need to listen to what people are telling me, I'm finding myself. So you find there are a lot of many things that would happen during this space, and therefore, for the adults who will look at these young people and say this adolescent probably is defying authority, not because they want to do it, probably because there is no to find out between being a child and being an adult, where exactly do I fit? So
Mm.
you find all those things, when you look at them, if they are not taken care of well, you find that they affect how these children transition from childhood to adulthood. So when all these factors are put into place, and we have got proper guidance and information, then you find the transition period becomes smooth, and they enjoy, being an adolescent. But if these things are not looked into and they are not supported, then it becomes even more challenging for them, because it is more of a stage of confusion, and therefore everyone is trying to figure out where exactly or which direction should I take. So back
Mm.
to you, Avi.
Thank you very much. That was really elaborate. So my question here is, what can be done to bridge that gap, between, um like the example you gave, where the lady is developing breasts, she's menstruating, and all the parents call a spade and tell them why they are asking them not to play with boys. Because I feel like holding back that information makes the adolescents even more curious, so that at the point where they have the liberty to take their own decisions, they end up going overboard. So, what do you think can be done? I don't know, Joseph, if you can start with that, or maybe Sheila can add on to it.
I think, yeah, I can start off. Yeah, there's a lot that we can do. And it's good to know that we are talking of group within age 13 to 19 there, but sometimes it may start earlier and then others may go beyond 19. So at this age, the parents should not wait that now the children start adolescent. They should start preparing them, and then like in the family they should start mentoring them, because there's a difference between a parenting responsibility or a mentorship. So for the parent, they should provide but also help them to understand how to utilize what they are provided. Like maybe the parent, they have started some changes. They should not just provide sanitary pad, they should not provide the boxers or a pant for these adolescents, or maybe now they need it for more hygiene, like now you need to be showering like twice in a day, then you need to avoid they should move with them with what they can bring these adolescents, and then they are trained by other adolescents who have gone through and they have understood. As we have talked of their reproductive health growing, these adolescents also to know maybe at what age are they going to start using like maybe like a contraceptives. How can they prevent the pregnancy? Because you realize majority of the abortion that's happening, they happen within this group of 13 actually up to 19. And even the ones who are teenage pregnancy, even who are dropping school because of pregnancy, they are within that age. So we can do a lot of things. And then even cultural, we need to teach them cultural. How are they able to like here in Kenya, they have like during the holidays when the boys they are going for initiation, there's also girls who are going to be just uh, uh, put awareness or being socialized to be now the women of tomorrow. So they are able to be taught, they're able to call like health providers who can talk to them. Then also they can also enroll for the program, like even the one we are doing here. Maybe they can know there's this ABBY Imani, the series or review show where they can come and learn something. So I believe there's a lot that we can do. Like professionals, we need to have this program even in the hospitals so that we can provide a forum, especially when they close the school, they can come to program health, whether they are public health nurse or other healthcare workers who are invited, or even they request for a talk with the adolescents that they can give them some way of coping. And this can start all the way from grade 6 as they transition even to high school, because we know the challenges that they may face also is the substance use. We have not talked about the substance use because of the environment, how we will interact with them. Some of them, they realize now, maybe I can test one or two alcohol, I can test cigarette, I can test bangi. Because if you realize, even with the statistics, they start taking substance even at around 9. Actually, in Kenya, I think we have a latest news that there's a girl who 9, she was able to deliver twins. So you can see that age is really challenging, and it bears it's a challenging. There's a logic question we can ask: what is happening? Meaning the things that we are supposed to do, either we are not doing. And then I believe was a public health officer who can be moving around and then maybe like mapping these like if it is an informal setting and see the challenges. Uh, Also having the organization put somewhere where the adolescent can know that this organization exists, and this also organization can move around maybe through the churches or other institutions where these adolescents go so that they can learn. We have what we call community health promoters. They can also be working with these adolescents as they visit the house, because one of their mandate is to visit house and they provide the primary health care. Meaning now they can also talk to these adolescents and attach them to hospitals or other people who can support them. Then in terms of their maybe say like if their mental well-being, they also need to be taught stress management, problem solving, because some of them you realize at this time they start having troubles even at the family. Some even are rejected, are chased away, or even this time we see people being in the prison. They go to juvenile prison or those correction institution. So I think also is the high time now they get some awareness and being taught how they can avoid all these problems. So because some of them maybe feel they are depressed, but there's nobody who is talking to them because they want to understand themselves. They want to understand what is prevented for them. Some they either maybe associated with a live event that is happening with 8 hours or working out from home. So we have even to see these changes and the demand or the things that they require. So I like the way Sheila she has really brought in terms of the environment it can interact with them, but I believe we are the same people who can alter the environment. And also we need to know there is a modern world. There is nowhere that you can read only understand how to take care of adolescents. You have to. So I believe if you can encourage the mothers who have children, at least to keep also being and getting some mentorship from mothers who have adolescents. Also, if they during the school holidays, we have cases of gender-based violence. At least they can be taught and maybe so now they can protect themselves or they can report because some of them they shy away from reporting these cases. So I think we have a lot of things that we can do depending with the institution, from the family, from the way to the church. Actually, church acts a lot because we have the youth. We have what we call, I don't know if you have heard of a Sunday school, where these are below 13, they come and they learn something. They start having their own spiritual forum. They have their competition. That time they are learning and they get occupied. And also they learn some character. So I believe even churches, they are one of the institutions that we cannot forget. Then we come to the now hospitals so that we can start from all the way from primary health care, from level 1 going up there, because also they are faced with the challenges. And sometimes we underrate them or we overrate them. So most of the time it's good to give them enough information. I have seen most of the people trying to write a book, but when you read those books, is that they share their own experience, which may not cut across. So I wish that now they can have all the institution doing something so that they don't we don't confuse these adolescents. But what I like from adolescent, they like to be felt, they like to express themselves, but it's only that they may express through verbally, others may express being silent, others they may express maybe being too much in books. So it's upon us to know which areas are they channels they are expressing themselves. Others, they are now using digital media. They take your phone and realize the areas that they are checking is how to understand adolescents, or maybe to know about like contraceptives, maybe spiritual things. So it's upon the parent to see when they come home, what do they need? It's upon us, the workers, when they come to hospital, which question do they ask? It is they want to know their HIV status. It is that they want to know their body changes. Is that they want to know about the mental health. It is that they want to know how to understand their parents because they are not fighting. So when you understand what they want, we are able now to provide. Thank you.
I totally agree with what you've said. And I think that, as rightly as you said it, the church has a big responsibility to play when it comes to this, and the family as well. We all say that the family is the foundation of society, and that's where every adolescent comes from. So I dare to say that they tend to take a lot from their family. Whatever is told them at home, like they say, charity begins at home. So that's what they take. So if the home doesn't provide that conducive environment for them to get the right information, they'll go out there and be exposed to some information that is not necessarily the truth. And we all know that right now, out there, especially on social media, there are all sorts of things. So if the child is not trained well from the home, there's a risk of they being exposed to the wrong things. And the world just tends to bombard us with information, like overload of information. So that even brings more confusion and more frustration. So I believe that the family unit has to be protected. We, the adults and the family, should rise up, like you said, take responsibility and taught the word, They should also be taught about themselves, their identity, their bodies, the changes. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why God put this show on my heart, because I felt like some of these things are over spiritualized and we don't really hit the nail on the head. We should be able to talk to girls and boys about their bodies, the changes, what the consequences of certain actions are as they go through certain negative actions, and also the good side as well as they are growing up, so that they don't go astray, you know. So that's my bit for now. Um, the next thing is there a difference in the process based on race or geographical location? We've talked about, I mean, I'm sure in Kenya there are different, um, how do I say it, especially when it comes to the traditions. There are different things that the adolescents go through um, compared with Ghana or any other African country. How about race? Is it, are there some things that cut across for children transitioning into adulthood, and are there some things that differ depending on where you are in the world or which race you belong to? Sheila, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so thank you, Abby. So I think for the transitional period, there are some things which are constant and which are the same, and they cut across whether it is the race, whether it is the tribe, whether it is the continent. So when you look at it in terms of the biological issues, they are the same. There's really nothing different. We can't say that if you are in Ghana and you're in Kenya, probably your breast will grow differently. It is the same. Yeah, and whether you are in Italy or you are in America, the biological process is basically the same. So it's
Mm,
just probably the skin color that will be different, but everything else remains the same. When it comes to issues of religion, you'll find that for the most part of it, if you are either in Islamic or in Christian, you'll find most of the things are basically the same, unless you are a follower of a certain religion. As much as they'll use different terms, but at the end of the day, you find that there are many things that are basically the same. When it comes to the environment, probably that will be different depending on where you have grown and the kind of resources and exposure you've been exposed to. But then when you look at it in terms of the urban population, children who have grown up in urban setting, the challenges are basically similar, because when you look at exposure probably to social media, peer pressure, and all that, you'll find most of the things are cross cutting, except in a few instances where looking at differences in terms of connectivity, differences in terms of socialization, and even differences in terms of the kind of friends you keep, or the kind of different environments you've been brought in. So you'll find that some instances will be more or less pronounced
mm,
in certain areas, but more pronounced in other areas. So what we are saying, the adolescent transitional period is basically the same. The differences are very minimal. And when you look at the challenges parents face, regardless of where you were brought up, you'll find that some of these challenges are similar and cut across all cultures, because when you look at it in terms of information,
mm,
you talk to a child in Ghana, probably talk to a child in Uganda, talk to a child in Kenya, depending on how they were brought up. You'll always find there is always that thing that I don't have access to more information. But then when it comes to cultural aspects, then you'll find there'll be differences in terms of probably in African setting, we have more closed communities, and we had certain structures, which I'm not saying that they will not be in the Western world. You'll find that they also have got their own cultures and practices that children will grow up following. So you'll find in some communities or they had more structured ways of doing things, and therefore the way their young people go through the transition period is well elaborated, and therefore you find that issues of having peer mentors or having mentors who can guide you is not an issue per se, because they've tried to maintain those cultures. But then in other instances, you find that there's been a lot of dilution. So in our own setting, for example, you find a lot of the things that probably used to happen many years ago are not happening today because of urbanization and because of cross culture. So a lot of people say we don't want to be associated with those things. You know, those were old cultures, and now we are in modern world, so we have to move with what is trending or what is modern. So you'll find because of that, a lot of these good things are being lost in between. But then at the end of the day, we are saying whether you're an adolescent in Africa, an adolescent in America, an adolescent in Asia, the problems are similar. But how we deal with them, what matters, and that now determines the outcomes. Yeah. So back to you,
Thank
Abby.
you. As you spoke, my mind went to some of the cultural practices.
Maybe I can add one or two.
Hello, Joseph. Before you join in, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Hello?
you.
Okay. Before you come in, Joseph, I just want to have ask a quick.
Hello?
Hello, Joseph.
Hello?
Hello.
Can I speak?
Just a minute. A quick question before you speak. So, Sheila, as you were speaking, my mind went to one of the cultural practices in Ghana when the child is transitioning into adulthood. And in one of the ethnic groups, they literally make them go bare chested, the ladies, and I think it's mostly the ladies who go through those rituals. They go bare chested, they walk with them in the society, the community. They perform other rites, to show everybody that okay, these girls have come of age. I'm wondering whether exposed to society with your breast, everything exposed. Do you think that this is healthy for a child who is discovering themselves?
Yeah, so thank you, Abby. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the cultural practices were actually traumatic, and but then it depends who is looking at it and from what context. So I'm sure, like what you've shared, in that particular context, people don't see it as a problem because it is something that has been done over the years, and therefore, as you grow up, your parents will also expect you to go through that, and they don't see anything wrong with that. And even give an example of what happens in some of our cultures here in Kenya. So you find in some cultures, female genital mutilation, that
Yeah.
is circumcision,
Hmm.
it is something that has been practiced with some communities for quite a long time, such that the people who are from that particular community don't see anything wrong with that because they'll tell you it has been passed on generation after generation and people have been happy. But you see, as an outsider, when you look at it from that perspective, you see that this is wrong. And therefore, you start seeing all the wrong things about that particular culture. So it depends, are you an insider or are you an outsider? And then it also depends on how, as a person going through that particular practice, you've been socialized. So if you've been socialized to believe that this is the correct thing to do, you won't see it as a problem. But then we know that some of these practices, if they're not done correctly, because we're not saying that some of these practices are 100% foolproof, we've seen situations whereby some of these practices are done and probably they are overdone. And in the process of being overdone, you find they turn out to be tragic or they turn out to be health risks. So depending on how it is done, who is doing it, and you'll find that probably it might cause negative consequences or
Mm,
cause positive consequences. So it depends on how the whole cultural rituals and practices are carried out, and how these children are taken through, and how they appreciate it. I'll also give another example. You find that among the Kenyan Maasais,
mm,
the Morans, the young Maasai men, when they come of age, you find that these guys are taken away from the family, and then the circumcision happens, and then there are a lot of many other things that happen to these young men when they're away from the family. So you find it is something that they have held on to for the longest time, until it is gotten to a place where everyone is relating to that. Until the other day, I think it was just late last year, where our president said these young people, and when they grow up, they become more responsible and they become even more cohesive. So it depends on how it is brought out, and if the good of that particular practice is well defined, then people embrace it, and therefore the negativity about it is actually avoided. But
mm,
then, as I said, you cannot just say all cultures are good. There are
mm.
some elements that you find, if they are overdone, then they bring the negative elements. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the female genital mutilation can't have any good come out of it. I mean, with the men,
Yeah.
there's that understanding that yes, it's good to take off the foreskin, to, and that one has real adverse effects. So for that, I think it must be looked into and stopped. I think I had someone come talk about it some time ago. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry, Joseph, you're going to say something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the discussion we have today. And also, I want to add something on what Sheila she has really uh, tried to put out.
Mm,
It might look like a simple topic to most of the parents, to most of the guardian or anybody who is hearing, but
mm,
these people affect adolescents in terms of their mental health. And that's why you see globally, children or adolescents who are 13 and 24, they're facing a lot of challenges with the depression and also
mm,
with substance use, with the post-traumatic stress disorders.
mm,
Others, they are really giving up. Others, they are really losing the focus. So
mm,
what I want to put is the difference within the cultures. Actually, if we look in Africa, majority of us are now shifting from now the traditional circumcision. Now they are going to medical circumcision, and that
mm,
one is really totally changing because you realize like the fathers now gone for traditional. They feel like they are losing, but because not to adapt on medical, they are really accepting. And
mm,
then if you see the churches have taken really the better part of it, they are taking almost 70%, especially here in Kenya. So you realize when maybe they close the school like in December, August there are a lot of youth boys who go for circumcision in those church camp or
okay.
church organized. They do the circumcision, then they let your children go home. And then when they are doing now the graduation after a few weeks, they put them together and you realize. So they realize, oh, I have to be responsible because if you don't take care of these adolescents and telling them you are the adult of tomorrow, they get confused when now they reach of that adult and then they realize, what am I graduating with? What am I bringing now as an adult? So they realize I need to be responsible. And then there's those tax shifting within the home. You realize, the father saying, oh, I have my son here. I can send my son to represent me in a meeting. I can send my son maybe to do one, two, three. The same with the mothers. Now that I have one daughter who can cook, you have visitors, you can come and maybe to take care of the visitors, entertain them, show them one or two, three things. You realize these things, they help them to mature cognitive because for them maturing and able to make judgment, to make decision is very important for them. And then for even them now being at this age and given some responsibility, they're able to see what adult does because that we are talking a point of now initiation. When you get initiated, and also there is a naming. There is a name you acquire. So if you acquire that name, you realize, oh, this is what I need to do. that name, and that name comes with that status. You are trying now to fit yourself in the community. When you go to most of these forum, you're also elected as a leader. They tell you now, because of your age, now you can present maybe like I think we had a age set. Yeah, people who can be circumcised in maybe in that period, they have an age set whenever they belong. They start calling themselves name, they start visiting, and then they keep that healthy competition. Oh, you join a university, or you join a this is school, you are doing this and this. So I believe those can make different in terms of our environment, comparing with the white environment, comparing with the Italian environment, and then also for law. The law in Africa, majority of them, they are so strict that you have to turn 18 for you not to be allowed to be adult. Others, I think, within 16, you're even allowed to do some duties. And that we realize, as we have issues with the gender-based violence. When you go to other side, they may not even say these are gender-based violence. This is not even a defilement. It's not even a rape. But when you come in Africa, because of our age, you realize if there is any adolescent below 18 who carrying a baby or having an affair, so that's an offense. But in other country, may not be an offense. And also, even when they join like a college or a university, we realize in Africa, people with the 22 or 23, they are the one who are graduating. But when you go to the other side, they are graduating when it is a bit early. So even education system, I believe, also is one of the changes. Then one what else I want to bring is there's this social media. I believe Priscilla really talked about it. In Africa, the way we are like over flooded with it without having regulation. I believe the white, maybe they have the way they regulate. For us here, we are also struggling to see how can you put like a YouTube for kids. How can you maybe set for parental guidance something? So you realize most of the videos, when you go in the white or in the foreign countries like US or UK, they are put with them. When you post a video, you realize like the one you are doing here, it is okay for people under 18 to consume if you have to obey those terms and regulation. But here in Africa, it's like everything we like consuming, so they get confused on the way. Yeah, but also in terms of their mental health, I think this is a group with a lot of mental health, and I think it can also show the different from the other side, because our environment is either our parents, they are more protective, they want like their children not to come out of from the house. When they close the school, they have to stay in the compound. That one may have some disadvantages
Yeah.
comparing with those people who are moving. If you can imagine someone now, you are just joining the university where you'll be late like 24 hours for the rest of the 3 years or 4 years. And maybe that time you are like taking a fish out of water. You face a lot of
Yeah.
challenges. And that's why you see these universities, there are a lot of dropouts. There's a lot of teenage pregnancy,
Yeah.
HIV, STI, a lot of crime. You realize the young girls, they are losing life. And also even the young boys, they are losing life. So I think it's for adolescents, when they start joining high school, we start allowing them even to have going out. There's some who want to have like a sleepover. Their parents to feel like, no, this is not mature enough. You are like a chicken who is already hatching the eggs, and you don't want to release your chicks to move out. You are
Yeah.
fearing
Shake.
maybe
Yeah.
the predators. Yeah. So I think it's a good topic, but we have to tell the parent, the guardian, at least to allow them so that they can muscle and see how the world is in earlier days or time, instead of them experiencing when they are 20s, 24 or 30s. You already maybe you will mess with their life at that moment. And some they may not even recover. Thank
Yeah. I completely agree. And it's very interesting that this particular subject I've been discussing with a number of friends recently, based on my personal experience and the experience of other people. And rightly, as you said, it's good to find a fine balance, and allow the teenagers to get exposed to certain things. I mean, with wisdom and with guidance, because when they are shielded like that, like you said, and later on in life they go to university, and it happens a lot. Someone who growing up they seemed all prim and proper, and then they get to the university and suddenly they are a totally different character altogether. Because, like you said, suddenly there's freedom. So they want to try anything and everything, all the things that their parents held them back from doing, or their guardians held them back from doing. Now they are in school, nobody is checking on them, nobody is asking them what time they are getting back to their hostels, etc. So then they just go all out because there's that heightened curiosity to experience the things that they've been prevented from experiencing. So yes, there are good things in our culture, but there's also that aspect where it prevents the young ones from really discovering themselves, knowing their strengths, knowing their shortfalls, knowing the things that are good for them, that are not good for them, so that they can mature properly. And mentally, it does really affect children. I'm even thinking of this social media thing right now. So many posts are sent out. People post all kinds of unrealistic things. And the young people are watching and thinking, it looks like people are having fun and I'm not. So why don't I try this? Why don't I go here and do this and also come and post it so people to see that, yeah, I'm also doing something. And interestingly enough, if you get to know them, you realize that they're not even as happy as they are portraying on social media. And like you said, there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of frustration because definitely there'll always be someone who is doing things better, who looks better than you, who is talking better than you. So the more you try to catch up, the worse it gets, and then that affects the mental well-being of the young people. And like you said, even into adulthood, if you don't have the right foundation, you don't have the right guidance, you grow up into an adult who is insecure, and not able to put themselves together mentally, physically, in every way. So this has been really good. Thank you for bringing out all those aspects. And these are real things that are happening. And I believe that the West also has its disadvantages, even though they allow the young ones to go out early, and thereby being given the opportunity to explore and know themselves. They also have their negative effects. So the whole thing is about um, finding that good balance, applying the wisdom, and giving good guidance to the young ones so that they don't go to the extremes, but they stay, in that safe space. Great. Is there? I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think at this point, if there's anything else we haven't touched on, any of you can talk about it. Whoever wants to go first, please go ahead.
Maybe I can go first.
Okay.
I would like to encourage parents, guardians, and the people who are taking care of adolescents, like teachers, to know that they are preparing adults of tomorrow. And if things are not working right now, or they are not getting them in the right direction, they will confuse a generation. Here in Kenya, we normally say youth are leaders of tomorrow, but they are there confused of this tomorrow. So tomorrow you have to start preparing today,
Yeah.
because they are one day that is very important in your life today. So I believe the adolescent need to understand today who are they,
Mm.
what are the body changes. Are these body changes going maybe to help me to be an adult? Is going to be told now you will be an adult because you have started having some signs of an adult. And then in terms of the what we call the rules and how we guide them, how we discipline them, is going to display them appropriate, because if we confuse them, and when they now become of adults, they will use the same thing. So I believe is when we are displaying, we have to realize whatever we are doing, are we doing for them to learn so that they are able to do? Because I believe us as a parent, we almost parent how we were parented, or
Yeah.
maybe opposite of what we were parented. Some say that I can't cane my children because I was caned. Realize later you need to use that cane
Mm.
so that at least your children can understand something. And
Mm.
then when they come of the age, so they want to use the same thing.
Mm.
So let's say that the meals that we are cooking right now they able to cook the same meal in days to come? And then with the social media, because I believe that's where we are losing all of us, let parents create time, even themselves. You want children to be at least moderate and disciplined on the media. Also, yourself be disciplined and moderate on the media. You might say you are doing business or whatever, but when they see you like almost 12, 1 p or 1 a.m. at midnight, you are still on the social media. They see what you are doing, what you are saying. So I believe
Yeah.
they will get confused. As my mom told me not to do this, my dad told me not to do this, and they can see all my dad is doing on the social media, because for them it's like they take like 1 hour to filter what you do and they see the type of the parent or guardian you are, or even a teacher. I saw somewhere where the teacher, they are really trying to put some things when they are teaching these students, but to realize there is a big gap, because when they are told to say what is happening at home, they give a very totally different picture, because they are either restricted or there are no regulation at home. So I would encourage that we realize that the people we are preparing in terms of the adolescent, we are preparing them to be adults who are going to take over. So if you want to have a strong foundation, like a good leaders, a good nation like Africa, Kenya, Ghana, we want to have a good institution like spiritual institution. We have to have a good institution like the hospitals. We need to take care of these adolescents because they want to take over when other people get of age or retire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sheila.
Yeah, so thank you, Abby. Thank you, Joseph. I think Joseph has summed it up well. So, what I can only add to what Joseph has said is that as adults, we should always remember that we were once adolescents, and the adolescent period is a beautiful period, and we only live it once. So, if we do it right, then we mature into responsible adults. So it is our responsibility as parents to make sure that we are there for our children, we are able to understand them, we are able to create working relationships with them. And we should not let our own past experiences, whether they were good or bad, influence how we parent our children, because parenting doesn't have a defined manual, but as you grow through the different stages of life, you are able to unlearn some of the bad habits that probably we went through when we were going through the adolescent period. And as we unlearn, we relearn. And as we relearn, we make it much better. So, as Joseph said, our adolescents are the leaders of tomorrow, and therefore we should be able to be there as role models, give them space to explore, let them go through this period in a manner that they are able to learn. Because, as we said, life is about learning. There are habits you unlearn, there are habits you relearn, and there are habits you also unlearn as you go on. And therefore, once we know that, and we trust ourselves and we trust them, then the whole experience of adolescence will be a happy one. And therefore, we expect that as these adolescents become adults, they'll be more responsible, they'll be more happier. And some of the mental health issues that Joseph mentioned, issues of depression, anxiety, substance and drug abuse, issues of trauma, issues of identity crises will not be there, because these children will grow up knowing that they have got good structures, they have got good values, they have got people that they can look up to them. And therefore, let's all strive to make the adolescent period a beautiful transitioning period. Yeah, so back to you.
Thank you, Sheila. There's one final area. We touched on it briefly, but I want us to talk a bit more on it before we round up. The peer mentoring. How effective do you think it is? And do you think that it should be encouraged more? What's the nature of the peer mentoring among the adolescents?
I
Yeah,
think
so
maybe I
I would
can go first.
say, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
Joseph.
maybe let me go first so that you can sum up. Yeah, you are the one who has some adolescents around, so maybe I can go first. So for the peer is very important. because I think there was a point of touching about parenting and the mentorship. So for parenting is just providing, but now to tell them what you have brought, it's used. Let's say that you are provided clothes and you tell them how to use the clothes. You are provided like sanitary pad, telling them how to use the sanitary pad. You go beyond to a level now, bringing like peer. These peers you have to help them to select, because if they go to school, if you have never taught them or maybe given them freedom to select good friends and also appreciate their friends. And actually, this brings a point of communication. Sometimes we have a very poor way of communicating with these adolescents. So we have to adapt the effective way of communication so that they can even able to understand. Because if you, all of us, we like shout to each other, we talk without even understanding, respond just because we want to respond. But if they are able to be taught, they are able to learn the way Sheila was saying that we learn, we relearn, and then we're able to change. So the peer aspect is very important because it is giving them a easy way to understand. Let's say like a family where we have like my adolescent who is 13 and the other one is 17, they are 19, others 20. They're able now to learn what their older brothers or other siblings they were doing, able to check on the neighborhood. So this also go beyond now the family. We have to check on the neighborhood. Do they have the structures where that they can see adolescents dealing together, those who are older enough, supporting others? Remember one of the incidents that to me, I found a lady having a menstruation. I came to my mother and I said that I went to the girls' toilet and then I found blood. And the mom was like, told you to go there. She was like trying to beat me and I was trying to get that thing until I found out a person told me the thing that you normally ask is this one. And then he took me to a book where I read and I started having some understanding. So you see, if that adolescent was not older enough, he was not my friend, he would not have maybe heard me or given me such education. So I believe for peer education or that mentorship is very important and it needs to be mixed so that they are able to learn. And also, and then people have talked about it good for them to understand the other sex. Not only that the boys, they stay with the boys. Sometimes it become boring when you go to a place like a meeting and you see boys sitting together, you see lady and girls sitting together. It's good also to make so that they can, because they have their brothers and sisters also. That also help them to know, oh, if I join university, I will know how to stay with the boys. If I join a mixed high school, I will know how to stay with the boys and how to stay with the girls. And the other aspect, I think LGBT is there, but I believe also is for them also to learn earlier, so that when they go and see other people practicing other different things, they're able to know this is their own and the orientation, is their own choices, and it has the boundaries that they are. So peers help them to understand who they are. They're able to put their boundaries and they know when do I have to cross the other side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Sheila.
Yeah, so thank you, Abby. Thank you, Joseph. So to just add on to what Joseph has said, peer mentoring works, and it works if there are proper structures in place, and as he correctly said, if these peers are mentored, because if we even go back to our own selves when we were growing up during that adolescent period, it was much easier asking your friend or someone who was probably a year older, asking them to do what, to tell you one or two things about things that you're not sure about, than going probably to your mother or to your father or to your brother and asking them about that. So when peers are empowered, then it becomes much easier for those peers to empower others, because you feel safer talking with them, you feel safer confiding with them. But then, as we said, it has to be structured, it has to be mentorship. Mentorship has to be done to these peers so that they are able to do it in a proper way. Otherwise, you'll find that some of these peers might actually end up causing more damage
Yeah.
than good. So, yeah, so it is always important to know what kind of peers are you talking about, what kind of information do you want them to pass across, and then is there someone who is also guiding them through life. And these peers also need to know if I've got an issue or I come across something that I'm not able to articulate well, then I have got someone ahead of me that I can actually go to and get the information from.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
back to
and
you.
also yeah, sorry. I also wanted to add something. This is what we
Mm.
normally do at Sabasamu Cafe, where we
Okay.
have the peers, girls and boys. When they come, they're able to give them within an hour. They're able to summarize what they want to what they can do, the question they have. Some they may have issues like, I feel like I need a girlfriend. The others, if I need a boyfriend. Others may come issues like I have a pregnancy or how can I do about it? They are just there below 19, others they are 15. So the peer education educators, they are very important to know where you can get them. And the way Sheila was saying, that some may confuse them. So for Tabasam Cafe, they are more who we know that they have walked the journey. They are able to give the information that they have already experienced. They are able to know some health issues because adolescents have a lot of health issues, but they
Mm.
fear because when you go to most of these institutions, and you want even to ask about family planning or a contraceptive. You don't use, but you want to know. You are
Mm.
stigmatized. Or maybe the queue is too long for you now, you can't wait. Or maybe you are told to go and bring your mother, bring your father. So when they come to Basam Cafe, we are able to understand, and where we want to bring like a guardian for consent, we are able to do it without stigmatizing them. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Abby, to just add on to what
Sure.
Joseph has said.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So just still on that issue of peer mentors, the reason why we actually came up with Tabasamu Cafe was just because of the many issues we've raised here. Because you
Mm.
find in an urban setting, and remember we said the environment plays a major role sometimes on how these adolescents mature and go through life. So you find that. In urban and peri-urban setting, you could actually be staying in town, but you are staying in a more disadvantaged circumstances where you have got no access to information, no
Yeah.
access to mentors, no access to some of these basic services that sometimes people take for granted. Or
Mm.
even if you are staying with your parents, they are basically not there for you, or you have got a poor relationship with them, so you can't even talk to them or ask them anything, or they are too busy, chasing the dollar and just trying to make life a bit bearable. So you
Yeah.
find for us, we noticed that there was that gap because now we were getting a lot of teenage pregnancies and we wanted to understand why the many teenage pregnancies. So we realized that most of these girls, young girls and young boys who are just going through, the adolescent period didn't have information,
Mm.
and this information, there was absolutely no one to give them that information because of the things that I've mentioned. So you
Mm.
find, as we're using peers, we also learn that it is important to have a safe space where these peers can actually come, because some of these things they can't again do them in the community, because as we said, some of these environments are not as favorable as we want them to be. So you find now in this safe space, these young people can come, they get social information, they get health related information, they get, information about the common social issues, and even acquire skills on how to go around some of the problems they have. So we
Mm.
realize that when you get mentors or peers probably who've been through some of these things, and you've taken them through, they have come out more successfully, and you empower them, it is much easier to have them do the same. So it's kind of you mentor another peer, so it's much easier that way because they tend to trust their peers sometimes
Mm.
more than they trust their parents. But then we're
Mm.
also saying parenting. Remember, I said there is no manual that is there for parents. So sometimes,
Mm.
as parents, you go through life and just learn how to do things right. So you find as we use peer mentors, we are also using other parents to mentor parents, so that as these peer mentors do their bit, then the parents at home are able to pick it from there and continue. Because remember, you can't work with this peer for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
this child or this adolescent will have to go back to their parents. So it is an interesting cycle where you find you have different levels of peering and mentoring, and just
Mm.
ensuring that as they grow in transition, they are able to transition to other mentors who will again take them through other phases of life. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a very interesting conversation. I've enjoyed it immensely. And I believe that a lot has been shared to educate all of us. And we, the older ones, will take responsibility of guiding the young ones as they transition. We know the mistakes that we made, the things that we lacked as we went through that stage. So, based on that, let's help the young ones as they come along so that they can be better off. There are some of the things that can be changed, but they have consequences. And it's better to avoid them than to allow these young ones to go through them. Thank you so much, Sheila and Jonathan. I really appreciate you for coming, and I look forward to our next conversation. And thank you, everyone else, for coming on here. This has been a special edition with our Kenyan friends. Hopefully, one day we'll get to go to Kenya and do it from there. That will be a very nice experience. Or they'll also get to come to Ghana and join us to do it here. And I'm hopeful that this collaboration will grow and get even better. God bless you. So we'll say a short word of prayer. Joseph, would you like to pray with us?
Yes, I can do.
Yes, please.
So thank you for having this opportunity.
Mm, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
mighty God Father, we thank you for giving us an opportunity to learn and to take care for our adolescents. We know this is a generation that is going to give another generation. We know what we have spoken here. We are not that perfect. We have just given our experiences and what we feel and we thought that can help. We pray that whoever come here and they learn something that they are going to implement it, Almighty Lord Father. We pray even for this collaboration with the Ghana and the Kenya, that it can continue assisting, can continue bringing more a relationship so that we can bring more topics so that we can discuss more. We pray even for the leadership of this program that they can continue. May you open their borders, give them the support that they need so they are able to give more time, give more topic so that our generation is going to learn. We know we say your people perish because of lack of knowledge. So we are here to give the knowledge. The one who have a knowledge have to come out and speak. So we thank you for this channel that is giving us opportunity to speak. So as we are going to sleep, may you sleep with us and protect us. As we plan for what to do tomorrow and even the day after tomorrow, may you guide us. May it be of useful to you and also useful to us. We pray that's the Lord. Amen.
Amen. Speaking of which, I really appreciate it. I know you're about 4 hours ahead of us, so it's quite late out there. Thank you so much for sacrificing your time. God bless you.
Thank you too. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Welcome.
All right. So that has been the ABBY IMANI Reveals show, where we speak, we are real so that we can live. And we've spoken real today. So let's go out there and live the life that Christ has given us. Once again, before we sign off, if you haven't subscribed yet, just go to your browser or go to YouTube, type in ABBY IMANI, ABBY Reveals Show, and subscribe, and also share the link with any person who you think will benefit from our discussions. And we're open to any help, be it through financial or ideas. Just reach out to us and share with us as we all grow together in this family. Thank you all very much for coming, and God willing, we'll see you next week. Next week, we'll go back to our usual scheduled time of 8 p.m. And this was done at 6:30 because of our Kenyan friends. So that's how it's going to be subsequently. Whenever they are coming on, the time will shift to 6:30, and then we'll revert to 8 p.m. So thank you all for understanding, and God bless us all. Bye. Joseph and Sheila, thank you.